after rotten and forgotten. You know, we've been getting some snow around here, about a foot to be exact. And a buddy showed up today and he wanted to ride. So we did just that. 4 elands, about 4 hours, and we're 2 down. You know, that's 50% nutrition. But it's okay because we can fix it. Now, the first one to go was Steve here. And Steve was running pretty good, and then it started backfiring, and now it's not running very good. I'm thinking carburetor, not sure. The second to go and the last to go was the newly built 335. And the good news is the motor's running great. And the bad news is the track doesn't spin anymore. And that's because, you know, I came off a pretty good drift and landed a little hard, you know, with the wide open throttle going on, and snapped the double chain. Now, I don't know how bad it is. I'm assuming really bad though, because it was going fast and then it wasn't. And it made a very metallic whack sound. So, yeah, we got issues here, we got issues over here. I don't know where we want to start, but it's laid out and, you know, we gotta start somewhere. So let's just dive into one of these rigs, start throwing stuff at it until it, you know, either works or doesn't, and we'll assess and go from there. Now with this rig, I think we're gonna just take the carburetor off, throw in the ultrasonic cleaner, let it boil for a little while, think about itself. We'll look over the motor, check the crank for fluid, you know, different things like that, and check over the clutching stuff, you know. This one should be okay, maybe. I shouldn't say things like that, but this one, it's not good. There could be major issues. So, you know, we're probably gonna pop the hood off. I know the chain case has to come out. So basically, you know, we're tearing the track out again and all that fun stuff. But as it sits now, the track is locked tight because that chain, I'm assuming, is at the bottom of that chain case. And I'm assuming it's gonna be stuck and bad. And I don't know, we gotta dive into it, but let's take the carburetor off this one first and let her boil. So you guys have seen me do this quite a few times now. We're just gonna, you know, pop them lines off of here. Our return line and the fuel line on the bottom. And, you know, get things rolling here. We did try to diagnose this a little bit, you know, when you're riding, but the day was getting short and we just wanted to go. We did a quick, you know, little carb spray on her, but that didn't do her, so we're gonna have to dive in deep. I'm thinking, you know, maybe a plugged up port. Low idle seems to be gone. You gotta make yourself one of these wonky wrenches, you know, a 90° 13, I think it is, or some darn thing. That's how you get in here and get these nuts tight and loose. This one needs new throttle line bad too. I haven't got that far. It works, but she's really frayed up, you know. That's not so cool. Brakes work good on it though. There. Carburetor removed. Now this is my snow snorkel I put on her. They work pretty darn good. Got this lid on here to keep her shut tight, and then you remove that. You gotta take it off, you see. And basically the air sucks from the bottom, so when you hit them big drifts, the snow just flows over and doesn't, you know, seep into her. I'm still testing. They seem to work. You know, you might be losing a little bit of HPs with the back pressure in it and whatnot, but I don't know. I'd rather lose some HP and keep the snow out of the motor than plug her up with snow. That's removed. Our choke plate can come off. Whoa. Settle down there, bud. Our fuel line, inline. Oh, yeah. Hey, there's fuel in there. By the way, I'm about 95% sure my pump's working too. It's something with that low idle. It's just being fussy. So let's take this thing apart. You know, this is a pretty simple one. It's not a crazy pumperoo. Tabs on there, so you don't forget it. Got fuel in there. Diaphragm's in good shape. I just replaced all this, so it ought to be, you know, sitting pretty darn good, but that doesn't mean anything with these old two-strokes. If they don't want to run, they're not gonna run. How about our needleage? What's going on there? What? You open? Yeah, you open, you close. That looks good. Let's pull out that tube here. That's an 8mm, I believe. Check out the guts inside there. Make sure she's behaving herself. What's going on? Why you got wires showing? What's... Oh. Oh, Alfred, we got problems. That was my diaphragm spring. We're going to draw out these Welch plugs. Check out the ball valve in there. Okay, this seemed to be loose. Like, probably not good. That's interesting. I think this might be part of our issue, a loose Welch plug. Is that possible? Could that happen? Probably. The inside of there doesn't look too bad. It ain't the greatest, so I'll tell you that much. Let's pop this baby out of here. That one was seated good. That's my ball valve. But this Welch plug was loose. That is, you know, that could be part of our problem. That's going in the drink, this Welch plug is. Not the Welch plug, the spring ball valve. It tastes like gas, but it's working. The ball valve's doing its thing. So we can save on that. Save on this. Let's pull out, you know, our high idle and our low idle screws. High idles are fixed on the Elans, on the 250s at least. Now I usually don't like to change springs, but since I wrecked that one, we're gonna have to change on it. So that could get interesting. We could open up a whole nother can of beans by changing the spring and the pop-off pressure for the diaphragm. But we're gonna have to do it because I really don't have another choice. You know, that might be part of my low idle circuit if that was leaking past that Welch plug. I'm thinking that might be our issue. That's my guess at least, because high was a little better, but if that was leaking past the Welch plug, you know, we wouldn't have the right pressures going on in here. Is my guess. I have no idea, you know. Well, the other carburetor's over there in the cleaner, and I'm going to take this carburetor apart and take that little pop-off spring out. You know, since I wrecked the other one somehow, which I'm kind of disappointed at. You see, the kits come with, you know, 2 different size springs, whatever. 95% of the time they're not right. So I'm going to match them up with this guy. I think I got some more springs laying around. They're kind of hard to find, and especially to find the right one. Usually I just use the original out of the kit. But, you know, 1971, there's a good chance they're getting, you know, not as sprungy as they used to be. So if I can find something that's similar to the one inside this one, I'll try it. If not, I'll just steal the one out of this carb, since it's just a parts carb anyways. But I haven't even opened up this one yet. This came off of one of those 250s. I'm sure she's gonna look pretty good in here. Bowls, you know, aftermarket. Parts Unlimited, special. Them bowls are junk. Parts Unlimited, if you're watching this, make a better bowl. These fuel filter bowls are just garbage. I should just delete on them and then run an inline filter or something, but oh. That's a crusty one. But hey, there is a spring in there. Not sure if it's the right one. Like, wow. That's gross. She hasn't been opened in a while. Oh, look at the plug came out of this one too. I'm thinking that's my problem. That Welch plug wasn't sealed properly, so we had some leak by, and then we were getting over flooded or under flooded, or it wasn't carbureting properly. Probably why this guy was, you know, hung up. Welch plug fell out, wasn't running, so he just parked her in the woods. Said enough with it. That parts carb is in the ultrasonic now. This thing's looking pretty darn clean. I'm gonna keep cleaning on it a little bit though. I wouldn't condone this to, you know, a carburetor you want to use, but oh, she came. Don't do that. It's not good for anything. Impacts are not meant for carburetor work, but it worked in my situation, so, you know, there's that. Look at that pin on there. Wow, that's nasty. But there's a spring here, probably a Tilson HR original, and that's what I need. So in she goes. Thank you, donor carb. And the needle's working. See that? See that in there? Needle's pumping. That's your heartbeat for, you know, a Tilson, is that diaphragm whacking that thing. You want to make sure it sits flush across the top. This one's pretty darn good, so I'm just going to leave it be. But other than that, you know, things are looking good. We're going to drop our ball valve back in place. We confirmed that was working. Now my tool of choice for pounding in this Welch plug is the back end of this chisel. It's nice and round and kind of what I'm looking for. I've used roll pin punches in the past, but I feel like that bulb on the end of there is a little too, you know, round, and it could be causing some of our issues, like a loose Welch plug maybe. Or, you know, a single cylinder rattling away. They kind of, you know, vibrate a little. That might be our issue too. There. That one's in. There. Just like that. Light taps, get those Welch plugs sealed properly. Hopefully this time. You know, I'm really thinking that was my issue. We'll find out shortly. We'll just slap the rest of this thing back together and try her out. See if that's our, you know, fix. We're going to reinstall this carburetor, but first we're going to check out our gaskets here. You see here that little hole in there, that allows the engine to, you know, pulse in there. It's kind of like a pulse line without a pulse line because it's built into the bracketry. But yeah, just making sure that's not plugged so we're getting, you know, the fuel pumping, which I think it is. I'm really thinking it was that Welch plug being loose in there, which I am guessing is loose, or I am assuming it was loose by the looks of it. I can't confirm that exactly, but I got a pretty good hunch that's what it was by the way it was acting, especially since it's on, you know, the low idle side of things. But anyways, gasket looks good. That's fairly new too, so don't get mad at me. That guy ain't got the funds to be throwing new stuff on every time these carburetors come off, because they come off quite frequently. Well, cross your T's and dot your I's. It's time to see if this thing's gonna, you know, make some noise. Hopefully a nice rhythmic noise would be ideal. Spark plug in there. Lucked out on this one, it seems to be. We won't know until we go test it. Maybe it's going to be a dead dog when you get some weight down there with the throttle, but we're going to save that for tomorrow. It's looking pretty good. I think it might be kind of fixed, maybe. We'll get our, you know, snow snuffer back on here and, you know, tighten things down. And we're going to, you know, put our stamp of approval on this one. And it doesn't even have, you know, the taillight warranty. It's got, you know, out the door, it's going to be broken again sooner than later. But so before we dive into that 335 and while this machine's, you know, nice and warm and not full of snow, we're going to check our chain case oil, you know, and we're probably going to install a tachometer on here, and I'll take you guys along the journey on that. It's pretty darn simple, but let's get the oil checked first here, maybe. I jabbed myself. I'm not bleeding, we're good. Now this chain is lubricated, so that's good. And, oh yeah, we got oils in there. And it's good oil too. Yep, 80, 90, and she's not leaking, so that's good. We're going to be installing an Amazon special, about $13 tachometer. Came with 2 of them in a set, 25 bucks. With shipping and whatnot, we're going with 13 bucks. Anyways, they're pretty darn simple. They wrap around your spark plug cable coming up. Wire, I guess you could say, whatever. Okay, it's gonna mount, you know, underneath the dash here somewhere, and it's got, you know, digicals. It reads the sparks that go through the line, and then it tells you an RPM off that for whatever type of, you know, engine you're running, single cylinder, 2-stroke, 2-cylinder, 2-stroke, you know, gassers, whatever. And once we get this installed, I want to put them on all the ELANs, and we can keep a log of, you know, how many times they're in the shop and how many hours they got before we break something major. Like the 335 over there, it made about 3 hours. The General is on a roll. We put a new motor in it 3 hours ago, and it's still cooking, you know, hasn't blown yet. Knock on wood. But anyways, enough jibber jabber. Let's get this thing installed. I gotta wipe the surface down a little bit better with a rag or something. And we'll just stick this on that, stick that on this. Away we go. You know, it's pretty simple. So the Emmanuel says we want to set this on 1P1R. If we click the setting button, hold it. I don't know. Okay, I gotta read a little more. Press the M button. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. 1P1R. We're set good. That's what we need. How do I get off that? No, that's good, I think. Let's fire it up. Let's see if it, you know, reads anything. Now that we got Steve running, we're at 3/4% of, you know, ELAN power around here. We can dig into the 335, the Rhino, as we call it. Yep. Well, I'll show you. It's a hard start. Okay, I ain't got time for this. So like I said, she runs great. It's just, you know, not moving, which is kind of critical to have a good time on one of these rigs. But I think we're going to start first by removing the hood, and then we're going to dive into all this fun stuff. I just don't want to wreck on the hood, because I know we're going to be throwing this thing around, operating. Okay, fellers, here we go. I'm going to, you know, just open on this. And that's a concerning sight, you know. There ain't no chain on there. This is where we find out what the real damage is. Get this nut off here. Whoa, that got a little violent. These teeth are not doing so hot. I'll show you these teeth here. I mean, we got one missing there, one missing there. That's all I'm seeing so far. Two. Shot, no good. It's kind of sad. we got ourselves a broken link. Kaboom, she went. And that's how she wrote that double chain shot. And how about our sprocket? Bottom sprocketry is, you know, no way. She's there. Somehow, some way. Like, together. Now that's surprising. Well, fellers, we got this donkey. Not sure, you know, if it's even close to the same, but we can check her out. I mean, the cases appear to be about the same size. They came out of the same machine. I think this is a year or two newer. But I mean, it's worth a shot. Just see what's going on inside this one. We had it apart earlier, but I don't remember what was in there at all. Things are looking similar. I think this is the same, you know, gearing. It's just in a heavy duty case. Now, how about sprocketry? What do we got going on here? We got, we'll start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The 15 sprocket on the little guy. And this one is, I think this is the 15 too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15. We got ourselves a donor. I'm about 95% sure, which is great news. Not only that, this secondary is in better shape than mine. I might steal on that, to be honest, because it's, you know, pretty darn good. Now, a guy got a little hard on the seals getting them out because I didn't want to pound on these. So I'm going to replace on them. These are my last two I got. They're like $3-4 bucks a piece, but I'd rather, you know, not have to have a leaky one after I do all this work and pull it all apart again. Especially if that chain holds, you know, more than a day. And it's very possible that chain wasn't the greatest when I put it in. You know, I did the old look at it and, yep. Threw it in there. Well, it was sitting out in the woods for 30 years before I went and found it, so it's not surprising. This one, you know, it's been contained and sealed, so it should be, you know, pretty fresh. But we'll be the first ones to know if it isn't, you know, so that's great. Get that new seal in there. We can save on that one for a rear cog or something, I suppose. Little guy to the inside, that groove. We talked about that last episode. Or the one before it, I can't remember. Pretty sure we were about 123. The last one, we're about there. Should work, maybe. Well, that didn't go too bad at all. About 50 minutes, you know, we got the chain case put in, track put on, seals pushed on, you know, cotter key through, all that fun stuff. So, you know, I think we're getting more efficient at it because we've been doing it a lot lately. But yeah, it's back together. I just got to add some fluids, tighten a couple more bolts, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow. We're going to switch over to this hood. Get those emblems and whatnot, you know, seated and, you know, drying. So it's going to be complete when we put it back together this next time. But overall, you know, it's probably a good thing, you know, a better chain in there, hopefully. We got this different secondary with a little tighter spring and nicer surfaces for our belt to ride on. And, you know, everything's put on right again, maybe. We'll see, time will tell. I'm sure something will break, but that's just the way it is. Especially when you're running old machines like this. But let's switch gears here and hit up that hood, start I ended up putting things where they gotta go. I think we're gonna try to, you know, seal these in with some roof caulking. I don't know, it's laying around and it's not getting used, so why not? Maybe it'll work. If it works, is it really a dumb idea? We're gonna get that one. We got this jalopy, you know, back together. We're gonna put on our new air filter mod and go for a test drive, I think. Hope this thing fits. I didn't measure very much, so if it doesn't, I won't be surprised, I guess. But okay, we're back together, you know. Spin her around, fire her up, send her out the door, lift that track up, do some wrenching, get her a line, and we'll go for a ride. It's getting real dark out though, so that's it.